of Patriot High School. I'm Logan Russell.
And I'm Melanie Sanginas, and you're watching PGS TV.
As many of you know, our world has been flipped upside down due to this pandemic. The way in which we live and learn has changed over the past several months. Families have been forced to quarantine in their homes to prevent the spread of the virus, and businesses and other places of employment were forced to shut down. I think it's safe to say that we did not imagine that this would happen. Though we are still in the pandemic at this time, things are starting to open back up. One of those things being school, or should I say virtual school.
That's right, we've been in school for a little over a month now and are starting to get the hang of it. Doing school virtually probably seemed weird at first, but it actually came with a few benefits. One of those benefits being flexibility. With this different style of learning, students usually are a bit more flexible with their schedules and work habits. For example, school now has a later start time. On Tuesdays and Thursdays we start at 10 a.m., while on Wednesdays and Fridays we start at 8:50 a.m. This extra time is used sparingly. Students usually can hopefully sleep in a little and have time to catch up a little work before school. They can even take that time they want to spend with their families if they want to.
Another example is how Mondays are now asynchronous workdays. Students have the opportunity to catch up on and complete schoolwork without having to worry about having any classes that day. Teachers can also take that time on Mondays to grade work or even plan out lessons. If teachers and students have completed all their work, they could even take Mondays to relax, de-stress, and prepare for the next week ahead. No matter how they spend that time, it's definitely nice to have. Just like it's nice having shorter class periods. Yep, virtual school has cut down the maximum amount of class time to 70 minutes. Teachers are required to teach for at least 30 minutes for each class. The nice part about it is that if teachers give instructions during those first 30 minutes, students have the ability to take the rest of the time to work without being interrupted or distracted by people talking while they're trying to complete their work like we would in a normal classroom.
These new freedoms and flexibilities can have positive and negative effects on some people. Some may find that this new way of doing school is actually harder than when students and teachers were in school. Others may find that this new way is easier. Then there are those who are probably unaffected either way. We here at PTHS were curious about what others thought about this topic, so we do what we do best. We interviewed some of our fellow teachers and students at Patriot High School to get their thoughts and opinions. Here's what they said.
Hi, my name is Logan Russell, and I am here with Nevaeh Bowie. Nevaeh, thank you for joining me today.
Yep, of course.
So first I want to ask you, have you been enjoying virtual learning?
Not necessarily.
What about it do you not like?
I don't really like the work overload that we're given. Like teachers give like a whole bunch of work in one class and keep assigning work over and over again. It just piles on top of each other. It's too much for me.
As a teacher, have you been enjoying teaching virtually more than in person or vice versa?
I can't say that I enjoy it better. There's nothing like, live interaction with your students. And I'm very close to my students. I miss the ones who I had last year coming in and visiting me in my classroom. But I am enjoying it because I still get to have contact with my kids. I do think the kids still absolutely learn, and it's allowing the kids to learn how to adapt and find another way to do things.
For the most of it, I have, because like I get to sleep in more, and the start times are nice, but that's probably about it. So maybe I should say I haven't been, but for that I haven't been part, it's just a lot of work. Like it's twice as much work as we normally would get. I just don't like really learning by myself. I rather prefer like learning with other people and having that human interaction. So
What changes have you had to make since we started virtual school? I know that maybe your lesson plans have changed maybe, or anything along those lines.
Well, I'm used to, because I used Google Classroom before. Then when I was in Fairfax County, I used Blackboard. So I always posted my, PowerPoints and assignments and everything, and tried to stay pretty up to date on that on those platforms. But the difference is now with you teaching online, you have to think about all the different things that you would be able to do on the spot live. And so that tends to be difficult. A good example is I often read to my students. I teach general ed, and I teach team talk classes, and I will read short pieces to them. I never think about the fact that there are a lot of kids that will end up doing things asynchronous, or if we have a day where, days that, like for instance, PSATs are all going to be synchronous learning days. So I have to now go back, and all the things I read to them live, like record it and put the recording on online, which I wouldn't have done prior.
Do you find that your schedule is harder to manage and is not as flexible as it should be?
I feel like with given time to work on it in class, like ending classes early and giving an 8 minutes Monday, I'm able to complete some of the work, but the work overload is still too much overall. Like, I'll try to complete some work during class, but by that time, it's already time for the next class to go on, so it's a lot.
Have you been able to kind of adapt to it and get into the swing of it, or are you still kind of struggling with it?
I've been trying to adapt as best I can, like I've been trying to handle my schoolwork along with college applications and scholarship deadlines, so.
Like, I think time management has gotten better. The workload for some reason is lightened up. I don't know if it's just like I was able to manage it more, or the teachers, but I started printing out the notes instead of going on the computer for them, just so it's like easier on my eyes. So I would print out all the notes before, and then like learn from there. And then I've also, like with my breaks, I've learned to get more stuff done.
Have you been able to kind of adapt to using Canvas, or do you still have problems with Canvas?
There are definitely things I need to learn, but I like Canvas, and I think it's easy to navigate. I also had experience using it. I taught 1 year in Manassas Park, and they use Canvas. The difference, though, is it was, again, live instruction, so it was used more like how we use our Google Classroom on before, when I've used Blackboard before, where it was just a space for kids to go and get assignments, when they needed it.
Do you find that it is easier or harder to communicate online versus doing it in person?
I think it would depend on just who the person is. Like, I know me personally, I prefer to talk to teachers in person, although sometimes I get anxious and it's probably easier to send an email. It's harder to make friends, especially because Zoom classes are too quiet. Nobody really knows each other, even in our schoolroom.
I'd probably say work-wise, not work-wise, but school-wise, email, calling people, at least for my friends and stuff.
Now they're talking about doing a hybrid model come the second quarter of going back into school. Are you going to look forward to being able to do that, to see your students?
With teachers, if you are at high risk, or if you're a caregiver of someone who is at high risk for serious complications from COVID, and those are all, you can find all of that on CDC. I have a high risk health condition, and I am the caregiver of my daughter, my freshman at Patriot, who is a brain cancer survivor, and my great aunt, who's 97. Plan to be, virtual because of that situation, and it makes me a little sad because I'm gonna miss my kids. I'm very dedicated to my butterbeans, as I call them. So so I'll be experiencing some FOMO when they go in the building, and I'm virtual, but I have to do what's safest for my family.
Have you found a way in which we have to submit our work harder than doing it in person, or do you find it a little bit easier?
Honestly, I don't really know, because I know in person it's hard to keep track of all your papers, and it's easy to lose your papers, but online everything is in one distinct spot.
Have you found that easier to do all of your work online, or do you still have to print stuff out, scan it, and send it in?
I find it's the same with you. I like to take my notes on paper, make it colorful even. I find it very difficult because I don't really like doing things online that much. While it is easy to keep track of things, I just find it very not okay for me.
But thank you so much for joining me today, Nevaeh.
Of course, I'll do it anytime.
Thank you.